What's good, y'all? Elvis here. So today's my last day at my suite, and I figured I might as well take advantage of it and give y'all a little tour, as well as just like, you know, pros and cons of a suite, just give you my personal experience. So for last year, I've worked at Solar Salon Studios. I've been at the suite for like a year, and I still haven't given y'all a tour, so might as well take advantage. Got a little key card thing to get the back entrance. It's looking nice in here. Here we have it. Forgive me, it is kind of messy in here. I was planning on doing a clean the suite with me video, but I guess today is a let's clean my suite out video. It's a little cluttered, but got my one-piece paraphernalia in here. More one-piece paraphernalia. My barber pins and one-piece paraphernalia. Various paintings. A few that I did myself. Most of them I did buy though. All right, so a few months ago, I actually made a video about why I moved out of a shop and into a suite. That video was more about like issues that I had in a shop environment that just made me think that moving into a suite was for me. But after being here for a year, I've realized what I value, and I've thought of what was worth it switching to a suite. Off the top, pros of being in a suite: you don't have to deal with a bunch of other barbers' bullshit, especially if you have concerns about people's negative mindset, energy, habits coming in and just mucking up your work environment, or the kind of people that have a bad day and make sure it's everybody's bad day. In a suite, you don't really have to worry about that unless it's you or your clients. That's a lot easier to nip in the bud when that does come up, versus you have to tolerate a bunch of grown people with immature behavior. Another pro: privacy is nice. My clients appreciate one-on-one interactions. They appreciate having a conversation that is between two people versus a community discussion. Because sometimes we might be talking about things that are a little bit touchier or people aren't as open about talking about, especially if you're a person like me who has a little bit of therapist spice thrown into my mix, you know what I'm saying? If you have good people communication skills, it only adds to the value of the service, for real. Because most of my clients, you know, they value my haircut, but they really value my interaction more than anything. They can get a good haircut anywhere in Greensboro, but they're paying me an above average price for the interaction that comes with a haircut. Another pro: I can choose the music. I can choose the vibe. That's all up to me. If I don't like the music, if I don't like the lighting, I can change that all myself. Another pro for having this suite was 24/7 access. I don't have to depend on the shop schedule. I have my own key. I can come and go as I please. That's not a pro specific to suites, because there's some suites that don't have that kind of setup. But there's a lot of shops where if you work at and you have rapport, trust with the management, you can come and go as you please. So it's not specific to suites generally, but it is a nice perk. This is the easiest space I've ever had to film content in, because I get to choose the angles, the lighting. There's not a bunch of factors outside of my control. I mean, now I have mics, so it's not much of a problem, but noise was an issue before. I couldn't make content where I'm sitting here talking to my clients before because there was always a bunch of noise in the background and either people on either side of me or somebody hollering across the shop. You know, it was a very chaotic environment for the kind of content I was trying to make. I think this might be my last pro, for real. Suites are very introvert-friendly environments. My clients that are bigger introverts love that they don't have to come and talk to anybody other than me. The introvert in me as a barber loves I don't have to come and talk to any coworkers, for real. He's just like, hi, bye in the hallway, and go to my room. But that's really about it for pros. I'm gonna keep it a stack. There's a lot of nice things. There's a lot of things in here that were nice, as far as like, I like the lighting fixtures in here. I like the door. Having that window was cool until I realized like I got a window, but I can't see outside. Having a shampoo bowl in here is nice. There's a lot of convenient things. But being here made me realize exactly what I value within my barbering business. First con: price. Keep in mind, I signed up for this, so it made sense to me at the time. But like with the barbershop, there's rarely a formal lease. It's kind of week to week. If you don't really have to commit to being there longer than you plan on or plan on paying for. With a suite, it's kind of like an apartment. You're basically on a lease for whatever period of time. I couldn't find suites that had leases less than 6 months. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be here a year, but keep in mind, I'm a person that pivots really quickly. I got this suite within a week. So I already knew it had all the things I wanted. Okay, well, shoot, paying for that money wasn't a big deal to me. Like, let's say 6 months in, I'm cutting hair, I'm doing this and that, and now I have a larger overhead. That means I gotta cut more hair to make more money. That's fine. I enjoy the piece I have within my job, but it's like I don't care too much about spending all my time cutting hair. I feel like I got a quota over my head now. And I'm paying more than double what I was paying before in a shop. And that's basically apartment rent. And so I'm paying apartment rent for this itty bitty ass room, and I don't even got a pull-out couch. That kind of blows me, not gonna lie. But that only became a factor when my priorities changed for how I wanted to spend most of my time and energy. But that was just life circumstances. So now for what I'm trying to do with my career as well as barbering, I don't think it's worth it spending all this money here, as well as spending the energy and the time to make that money when I want to spend actual less time and energy in this building. Another con. I like this suite. It's a dope space. I got to choose the colors, purple and blue, my favorite colors, my brand colors. It's a whole vibe in here. But that doesn't change the fact that this is a warehouse. It's a warehouse with little cubicles in it. It's not really a big issue, but I'm realizing now that my ideal work environment isn't just a place where I can make money. It's a place where there's pockets of regulation throughout the day. Like, one thing that I've realized like kind of drives me crazy is if I don't get natural light. So sometimes I come in here and it's super early, there's barely light out, and then I leave when it's dark. And there's a point in time where I had jobs where I had to do that. But now I don't, and I'm realizing that's not something I care to put up with, let alone pay more money for. Another con, if you're, let's say, an ambivert or more of a extroverted person, it can be kind of isolating being in these little cubicles versus being in a shop where there's a big community factor of the workplace. I mean, you can be buddy-buddy with people in the building, of course. There's a lot of people that seem cool that are my coworkers here, but I'm burnt out on being friends with barbers, hair care professionals, all that shit. Just because we do the same thing, don't mean we do this shit the same. It doesn't mean that we can actually add quality value to each other's lives. So I'm not the type to try to connect with somebody over just we have some shit in common. If we don't have spiritual things that are aligned, then it's like, I'll just see you in passing. It's not a big deal. I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies. So I have the range to politic with people if I want to, or be to myself. I'm fine with spending a few weeks not talking to people, but I'm also fine with being in a social environment. But I had to make a big adjustment when I realized that when I was in a shop before, that was already hitting on my human interaction quota, for real. Like, after I got off of work, being around all these people all day, no part of me cared about hanging out, making time with people. My energy's already spent. But since I moved to a suite, all my interaction is very intentional. All the people that are in my clientele at this point are people that, if they're not my friends now, they basically be my friends if we hung out in a slightly different context. But there's that kind of rapport between us. So I always feel like I'm hanging out with my friends when I come to work, but I'm not masking to play nice with a bunch of people who we're having small talk interactions. We're not really invested in each other. So I had a lot more energy at the end of the day than I was accustomed to, and I had to find different ways of connecting with people, jumping into hobbies. I had to redirect that energy that built up from only having a few high quality interactions compared to numerous low quality interactions that were a lot more draining. But I'm not complaining. Another con, but this is me specifically. So a thing with a suite or a location that has a bunch of suites, it's almost always going to be appointment only because there's not much foot traffic coming in for a shop. You feel me? I wouldn't recommend going to a suite if you haven't established your own clientele with your own specific kind of motion. If people are coming to the shop to get a haircut and you happen to be one of the options and you're booked up because of that, that's not a reason to get into a suite. If you're booked up for people specifically looking for you, then that might be a time where you can move into a suite or move into an area where you don't have to depend on the traffic of the main shop. I left this out. But another pro, this is like basically office space for me. I can come in here, work on content, just chill out if I want to get away from whatever. So that's cool, but I can also do that at an apartment for debatably the same price. So another con, like if you come to the suite, there's nobody to hang out with unless you made time to hang out with somebody at the suite. So if you just like going to a shop and just kicking it with the people that are there, that social aspect of just being at the shop, not necessarily doing work, that is effectively gone in a suite. That's not something that I really prioritize. But when I didn't have that, like, come on, there's a lot of bullshit when it comes to conversation at the shop. But one thing that I did appreciate about being in the shop context is when one person have a good conversation and it's spread to everybody having a good conversation, that's the best. That's the best. When it's like a whole group discussion and you're seeing a bunch of people's perspectives, it's not about what they think, it's about why they think. And there's always somebody to pick something off of and grow of in that kind of environment. But when it's just you and another person, it's your perspective, their perspective, and the perspective in the middle, versus like a conversation where 8 people chimed in with their own unique perspectives, their own narrative. You're accumulating knowledge from all these different directions. Well, that's one thing that I think was really cool. And that's part of the reason I'm actually moving back to a shop. I'm not moving back to the shop that I left, but I'm actually moving to the first shop I ever worked at. It's under new management, but I know most of the barbers there, and they're the kind of people that I can have conversations with. You know what I'm saying? Like, people trying to grow in their own directions and offer value between each other. That's the kind of interaction I have with my clients, and that's the kind of interaction I prefer to have with people that are around me. But that's the kind of interaction I prefer to have from my barber friends. The main reason I moved out of a shop in the first place was because I could tell, like, just from the environment I was in, the interactions I was having, if I stay here any longer, I'm going to quit. So I think I kind of overcorrected in a sense where I moved into a suite because I don't want to deal with nobody else's shit. And then I realized, like, I don't mind dealing with other people's shit. I just want to be around people who feel like they're winning within themselves. I just want to be around people that have a certain love and belief for themselves. If I got to interact with people and constantly pick them up, inflate their deflated ego just to have a positive interaction, that's a disservice to me and the work that God want me to do for real. I can't save you if you drown. You can only drag me down. I can't afford to have anchors hanging around. But life is a bunch of over and under corrections. I overcorrected by thinking, I had to get all the way by myself. And I realized I miss being around other people. But it was more about being around the right kinds of people that were conducive to where I'm trying to grow. I realized that I will be uncomfortable in every certain situation that denies me the ability to grow. There's always going to be resistance between you and whatever your goal is. That's the nature of the game. But it's not worth going out your way to put yourself in an environment that increases the resistance, especially with no reward. The reward the people get by sabotaging themselves is the feeling of putting off the discomfort. But going through the discomfort always feels better than letting it stop you. But now you have that in your brain eating away at your energy. If you know and feel a change needs to happen, it takes a lot more energy to stall a change than it does to lean into it. So lean into the change that needs to happen. Over and under correct. That's the whole purpose of this game. With this suite, I overspent. Like, I spent a lot more on a lot less. But when my priorities changed, I realized I was overspending. But I'd rather overspend than underspend, because if you underspend, that means you got to spend more to get it right. If you overspend, now you know I just got to spend less next time. The lesson was more valuable than the money that got spent. But that's all I got for today. I appreciate y'all watching. If you got any value, appreciate a like. If you want to subscribe, you feel free. If you haven't already followed your boy at Cuts by Elvis or at Better Barbering, go ahead and do that on Instagram as well as TikTok. Appreciate y'all again. So the last time y'all will see me at the suite. Till next time, Craft of a Clout. I'm out. Oh my God. It's the end of an era. It's over. It's over.